How's it going, everybody? So today in this video I wanted to talk a little bit about the psychology of aggressive driving. Okay, now at first I thought this might be kind of like a minute topic or subject to bring up. I figured, it was just like, I don't want to be like one of those like ranting channels or people who just talk about like their experience like from a average person perspective. Because I just feel like that's too immature, millennial type of nonsense. I don't know if that makes much sense what I just said, but point is, this is not like meant to be a rant, because I realize that I probably have a very beneficial perspective to provide for people that can actually benefit their lives if they are an aggressive driver, but of course they probably can't open their minds to this. Because they're usually knee-jerk, reactive type people. But this could also shed some great perspective on those of us who are not aggressive drivers, but we have to deal with aggressive drivers on a regular basis, okay? Because a lot of times our anger is simply, intensified or caused by a lack of understanding of whatever it is that we're angry about, all right? It's an unresolved train of thought, so to speak. So let's dive into this. Aggressive drivers are pretty much the only downside to driving for me, all right? Pretty much the only anxiety or stress or any of that I might have associated with driving is aggressive drivers. There's literally no other downside to driving, in my opinion. The only reason why driving is exhausting for me is because I have to deal with like absolutely irrational people, and it's on a regular basis. It comes up out of nowhere, and even when you're driving like perfectly great, trying to avoid them and all these things, they just, it's like they want to be angry. They want to find people to be angry at. So let me give a couple scenarios, okay? So first, the most common scenario and the most ridiculous scenario is, let's say we're driving on a road that has, just a regular street. The speed limit is 35 miles per hour, and there's 2 lanes going both directions, right? 2 lanes on each side, okay? And it's just you, and there's just a very, very rarely you find other cars, okay? It's like a Sunday afternoon. There's hardly any cars on the road. And you're just trying to get to the gym, okay? You're just trying to get to the gym. It's not that far from your house. It's maybe, 5 miles away, all right? And you're just driving, you're enjoying your day, you know what I mean? Obviously you're probably pumped up on pre-workout or something, really excited to get to the gym, feeling great. And all of a sudden, just some crazy motherfucker comes up out of nowhere, and you're driving the speed limit, mind you. You're driving 35 miles per hour. You might even be driving 5 miles above the speed limit. You might be driving 40 miles per hour. And this person, for some reason, just really wants to speed, right? And you're just minding your own business, and you notice there's somebody tailgating you, for no apparent reason. Like, you're on a 2-lane road. There's 2 lanes, so the person could easily speed around you, but for some reason he's like tailgating you, right? And it's very obvious, like it's like he almost wants to hit you. It's really strange. Makes no sense. You're literally just driving the speed limit and not doing anything wrong or anything of that nature, and for some reason he's tailgating you, and there could be many reasons why, right? And you could be coming up to a red light, and for some reason he's desperate to go as fast as he possibly can, right? He wants to speed around you, even though you're going to be stuck at a red light with him, which is usually super hilarious and awkward for that person. It's like, okay, you tried so hard to speed around me, you were tailgating me and stuff, only to be stuck at the same light, the same red light. It's like there was no purpose behind that. And so the person speeds around you, gets stuck at the red light, and then when you get going, he's already won. Like, he's already in his lane, he's got what he wanted, right? But for some reason, he decides to cut you off. And when I say cut you off, I mean like super sharp, to where it's like he's trying to hit you, or trying to get you to hit him. And you have no intentions of upsetting the person. You don't even like care. Like, you just want to get to the gym and do your thing. But for some reason, this person is like just so attached to influencing you for some reason, right? What the hell could drive somebody to do this? Now, this is the most ridiculous and very common scenarios that it happens in, but it also happens on the freeway. You know, a lot of the times, like, you might just be in the far right lane, like you're not in the fast lane, and even if you were, it still shouldn't really matter. But you're just in a regular lane on the freeway. You're going the speed limit. You might be going 5 miles over the speed limit, and there's someone behind you who just want to go as fast as they possibly can. And there might be traffic, right? A lot of times there's traffic, and no matter what they do, they're stuck in traffic. They literally just have to accept they're stuck in traffic. You could try speeding around traffic, nothing's gonna save you, right? But they still try to like aggressively like play Tetris or whatever, like speed around cars, even when it's very clear that they're not gonna be able to go anywhere. Like, there's congestion on the highway. And these people are endangering innocent people's lives. They're driving ridiculous, trying to cut people off, tailgating in the middle of traffic, and there's no reason for it at all. Like, literally, it's just the only things that can happen is they get nowhere, it was all for nothing, or they piss somebody off, or they get a ticket, or they run into somebody, you know, have an accident. It makes no sense. There's no reason to drive that way at all. In the heat of traffic, of course. But if you can get around somebody, then obviously it'll pay off to an extent. But even if, let's say you're not in traffic and there's just and it's just you and there's a couple of drivers around, right? Even if this person speeds around you, if they're just doing everyday driving, their drive might be, you know, 5 to 10 miles, even 15 miles. Even if their drive is 15 miles maximum, they're unlikely to make a significant difference in their travel time, okay, by speeding around people and driving aggressively. Of course, this depends, right? It's more so up to chance, because you have red lights. You have a lot of times traffic up in front. Like, when you get off the highway, you have red lights. You have traffic up in front of you a lot of times. There might be a cop somewhere. There might be an accident further up. And even if there wasn't, like, you literally might save 10 minutes, right? 10 minutes. Now, if you're scared that you might lose your job, right? Like, if you're late for work and you're scared that you might lose your job, it might make a big difference, right? Those 10 minutes might make a big difference. A lot of times they don't, though. A lot of times people are just, they're super anxious to get to work or whatever, and the anxiousness usually causes people to be late in the first place, because it causes people to forget things at home, yada yada, and then also it sets them up for potential accidents along the way. What if you get a ticket on your way to work when you are late, when you're already running late? I mean, then you're going to be 20 extra minutes late, and you're going to have $200 for a speeding ticket, and literally, like, the entire reason for you to speed in the first place is to get to work on time and to keep that money flow from your job, so that, you know, you don't lose money, right? So you can keep your house and your kids and shit. But you get stopped by a fucking police officer, now the entire purpose is fucked. Like, now you're paying $200, you're even later, and you're going to lose your job. Now, a lot of times, though, people are scared they're going to lose a job if they're late, but within reason, like if it's just 10, 15 minutes, most, but at the most, right? If you're at a good job with good management, they're probably not going to roast you too bad for that, most of the time. You know, and I know a lot of people that just don't understand, like that are just scared and emotionally triggered. They're going to argue and say, "Oh, you probably never like had to get to work on time. You probably, you know, don't have a job and this and that. You don't understand. You're not an adult." And even though I am an adult, and all these points are ridiculous, the fact is, like honestly, despite your excuses, despite your flawed logic that is absolutely not realistic, the fact is, if you're at a job where you have to race to work and potentially kill yourself on the way over there if you're late, and your bosses will roast you and fire you if you're, you know, a little bit late, you should find a better job, all right? If you're not getting paid any more than $15 an hour, and this is the way you drive when you're late, you're fucking retarded. And I don't, you know, I have nothing, like, this has nothing to do with mentally challenged people. Like, I use that word because it's like there's something wrong with you. Like, it makes no sense to be that worked up over a job that's hardly valuing your life. It's putting your life in danger. And you just sound like you're just so irritable, so irritated with your situation in general. If you're so desperate to keep that job in that way, like, it's not worth it, and you're not doing yourself any favors with any of this crap. So, I mean, you know, because I'm not so desperate, and I'm not so emotionally triggered, and I actually have control over my life, and I solve my issues the way I'm suggesting to other people. If you have a job that fucks up your life, change your job. I can think with a clear head, because emotions cloud our judgment. And that's exactly where I'm going with this. Like, there's so many different scenarios here I can name. You know, people cutting you off directly in front of you, just like trying to cause problems with people. Like, just today, I was coming back from the gym, and I was going the speed limit. I was trying to switch lanes, and the person behind me was like super far away from me, and just was like speeding up, like speeding super fast, and was like tailgating me as I was trying to switch lanes. And if I would not have switched lanes, like if I was a jackass, I could have slammed on my brakes and they would have ran into the back of me, their front end of their car would have been fucked up, and they wouldn't have been able to do anything about it because it would have been their fault, legally and logically. You know, it doesn't make sense, you know? And this person was driving a brand new car, so it's not like they have nothing to lose. I mean, obviously they don't appreciate their car, because if they did, they wouldn't drive like a fucking moron. Also, it is a Sunday. Where the fuck do they have to go that they have to get there so fucking bad? Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's not a hospital, not in this area, so it makes no sense, like, at all. Like, all they're going to do is break down their car. Like, there's only potential negatives. You might save 30 seconds to 10 minutes, okay, on your destination. Not in this area, though. That person most likely, like, this was there's no highways around, yada yada. This person wasn't rushing to get to the airport, obviously. It made no fucking sense, okay? They must have been on drugs, but probably not. So, alright, so once again, there's many different scenarios, and if you're following me this far, you probably can think of many different scenarios. I could name shit tons of them. Fast lane, not the fast lane. Highway, not the highway. You know, red light, not the red light. Traffic, no traffic, right? So there's a couple of things I want to bring up here, okay? So like I said, there's hardly any potential benefits, right? The best case scenario, you save like 10, maybe like probably not 15, but like 10 minutes on your trip, okay? Now this is if you're just inside of the city. Now, if you're on the highway, right, and you're taking like a trip that lasts, 30 minutes or more, completely different story, right? Like if you're going over, over 10, 15 miles, if you're traveling from city to city, it'll make a big difference. And I will admit, when I first got my license a long time ago, I remember I had a doctor's appointment, and I wanted to see how fast I can get there. Now, if I just drive the speed limit, it'll usually take me 15 minutes. But I remember, because it's like maybe 8 miles away. I remember the speed limit was 65, and I think I went like 85, 90, right? And this was super stupid, and that was years ago. And I remember I actually got to my destination in like 5 minutes. Like instead of taking 10 to 15 minutes, it took me 5 minutes to get there. That was pretty insane. But at the same time, even if I was running late, it wouldn't make sense. Like 15 minutes on a doctor's appointment, and usually you have to sit in the waiting room, right? You have to sit in the waiting room for 30 minutes to an hour anyway. So, you know what I mean? So it could make a big difference, but most of the time it doesn't, right? And if you're faced with traffic, why the fuck are you going to try to fight it? You can't. You're just gonna hurt yourself. Or if there's slow drivers in front of you, dude, they're driving the way they're driving because they probably don't have a rat up their ass like you do. Okay? Don't try to ruin their day, and don't try to ruin your own life by tailgating people and potentially getting in an accident or getting a fucking ticket. Okay? That's I see accidents on the road, and I honestly feel like sometimes there's honest mistakes, right? Sometimes it's an innocent person that gets ran into by a stupid driver. Sometimes there's just freak things happen, like a freak accident, like a 18-wheeler loses control, or a truck has a chair that's not properly tied down, which is ignorance, and it flies out and hits somebody in somebody's windshield. Okay, 1 time out of 10, it's going to be a freak accident of some kind, right? But 9 times out of 10, these accidents are caused by these drivers that I'm talking about in this fucking video. If the world could think rationally and think about all these different aspects I'm bringing to you guys in this fucking video, if people thought this way, I honestly feel there'd be less violence. I feel there'd be less accidents in the world. I feel like the world would be a lot healthier of a place, right? I mean, I honestly don't see how people can't listen to this and think oh yeah, this is a healthy perspective to have, right? It doesn't make sense. I mean, how can you think that there's a logical explanation for speeding? Unless you have to get to a hospital. I mean, not speeding, but aggressive driving. If you have to get from point A to point B, you know what I mean? And you have to get there fast, you're running late. I mean, once again, it's against the law, and probably shouldn't break the law. But I could understand if somebody was speeding, if they have to rush somebody to the hospital, which you should call an ambulance for, but there might not be enough time, or you're late for work or something like that. But the problem is if when you're cutting off drivers, you're tailgating people, flipping people off, trying to run into people, trying to speed around traffic, you're putting your own life in danger, you're risking getting a ticket, which will defeat the purpose of speeding in the first place. You're putting other people's life in danger and your own life in danger. Your car is going to be in danger, and if you have family members in the car or friends, you're putting their life in danger. There's something wrong with you, okay? Some people are just assholes and don't think about this shit and don't care. But I think the majority of people are mentally ill. I think their jobs are driving them crazy. I think because they're so emotionally triggered, they don't have the mental clarity to actually realize, oh shit, I don't need this job, I can get a better job that doesn't drive me fucking crazy. I think that people are coping and not thriving. I think that they just settle for relationships that aren't good for them, which pisses them off, and they feel hopeless because they don't have the confidence or the willpower that it takes to get out of those bad relationships and form healthy ones, you know, it's unhealthy habits, unhealthy relationships, unhealthy circumstances in life that you can control, but because your lifestyle is so unhealthy, you feel hopeless, you feel fucked up, you don't have willpower, don't have energy, and you're just always in this emotional, triggered, knee-jerk fog. The cure, of course, is to get out of that fog. The cure is to fix all these aspects of your life, right? And you know, you can read self-help books that can help you with that. Of course, that can be challenging because a lot of it's bullshit. You got to read a lot, and you probably don't have the time or the energy or the clarity to do that. But the point is, you got to fucking get better friends, get better family members, get a better mindset, better job, you know, fix all these things. Let go of bullshit you don't need. You don't need a brand new car payment, right? You don't need a big house payment. Like, you don't. You don't need a pet to fucking, you know, like shit tons of money, then they shit all over the place and stuff. It's all stress that is just, why do you need that? You know? For a while, go minimalist for a while. Let go of all this bullshit. This is important here. You know, see, it's like, oh, what the fuck is you talking about? It has nothing to do with aggressive driving. Bitch, yes it does. Why? What would drive somebody that insane to drive stupid like that? Because they have no control over their life. Because they're angry at their life. What it really is, for the most part, most of the time, it's projected anger, hostility, and emotions that they put on other people. Because they don't feel like they can get angry at the people that caused the anger in the first place, right? Your boss bitching at you and telling you they're gonna fire you and shit. You're angry at them, but you can't tell them, motherfucker, fuck you, I quit, because you're scared you're gonna lose your job, you need the money. That anger's still there, and you don't realize it, but you take that anger out from your boss on other people. It really is true. And for me, I see this now when I get angry, right? I see this now, all right? And it is very real. And it can be hard to see, right? You take this anger from your boss, you put it on other people. Let's say you argue with somebody on the internet, right? And they call you an idiot or whatever because you believe in veganism or something. And you're like, motherfucker, you don't know the science, motherfucker. Like, what about Caldwell Esselstyn? What about the fucking China study, right? You don't know science, blah, blah, blah. Even though you probably don't know what the fuck you're talking about either. You're all pissed off at them or whatever. And they just keep telling you, like, oh no, like, you know, veganism is bad for you, and plants are bad for you, and meat is good for you, and blah, blah, blah. And you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, right? And you're just like, oh, like, why can't I, like, convince them? I wish that I could beat them up or whatever through the computer screen, but I can't because I'm arguing with a random stranger who's probably like a 15-year-old kid on the other side of the planet or whatever. And you're like a 35-year-old grown adult or whatever. And you realize, like, oh, like, it's pointless. I can't take out my anger on them. So you go and try to find other people to take your anger out on. And this usually manifests itself, this particular instant, this manifests itself as, like, arguing with other people on videos, and it becomes an addiction of complaining and arguing with random people you don't even know. Because you just want to get that anger out. You don't realize it. You think, like, oh, I'm saving the planet. Oh, I'm, like, having logical debates. I'm working on my psychology. I'm working on my debate skills. I'm promoting a good cause. But what are you actually doing? You're trying to relieve the emotional stress inside of you. You don't know that. And if you hear this, you don't want to admit it. Because the ego. You identify with this bullshit. Right? And it also manifests itself on the road. Right? Oh, they're probably a liberal or this or that. Look at that bumper sticker or some shit. You know, whatever the point is, though, you know, it leaks out in other areas of your life. And then every time you hear somebody say, like, oh, like veganism, you're like, oh, fuck you, or like, blah, blah, blah. It's like, bro, like, you're asleep. Okay? Literally, like, the only The only like conspiracy you need to be worried about is not being aware of why you do the things you do. Why do you behave the way you do? Why do you think the way you do? You know, this is what it means to be awoken or enlightened, in my opinion, right? Realizing, oh shit, like, there's no reason for me to be tailgating this guy. It's not going to make a difference, and I'm just pissing myself off. And I'm probably going to end up dead, right? I'm going to kill myself if I keep driving stupid. Right? This poor old lady in front of me that's driving 30 miles per hour is probably super old, on the verge of death anyway. And here I am, like, tailgating this woman because I'm fucking, like, I have a rat up my ass. That's pathetic. Like, that's so sad. That's so sad. You know, you might have places to go. You might just be angry right now. You might be high. You might be drunk or something. You might have not eaten. You might have blood sugar issues. Like, these are all causes of acting that way, right? None of them really are justified for the most part. But if your girlfriend is, like, I don't know, dying at the hospital or something, that's like the only thing I can understand. I can only understand that. And you know, I think if anyone's had that experience before, then they'll know, like, okay, there are some, like, there's very few, but sometimes there is a reason to drive that way. Like, it's not going to help you. It's still irrational, right? Trying to speed around traffic when it's hopeless, just because, you know, somebody's dying and, you know, you're it's like, oh, a life or death situation. There's reasons why people do this, and it's important to look at why the fuck do they do it. If you're an aggressive driver, you need to think about this, or you're going to kill yourself, you're going to kill other people, you're just going to hurt yourself, right? There's lots and lots of problems psychologically and in your life that are all related to this, okay? Your relationship's probably fucked. You're all pissed off at your girlfriend. Like, girl, I fucking hate her so bad. Like, you know, she telling me that I'm worthless and I don't take out the trash and shit, which I don't have that problem because I chose a girl who actually has a brain. And, you know, we try to talk things out the way I do in this video, which helps. It's mature. It's the mature way to do things. It's the rational way to do things. It's the only way you can solve problems in a relationship. Wait till you guys are out of your feels and start to discuss things, you know. But, like, you know, like, oh, your girlfriend told you, like, you're worthless and lazy because you don't take out the trash, which is probably true. And she's just mad because obviously she has to do everything or whatever it is. She feels like you don't contribute to the relationship. I mean, if that's the case, you know, you're probably like, oh, like, I would love to break up with her, but I have kids with her. You know, so I can't take my anger out. I can't solve the problem. So what do? You go and you speed and take it out on the road. You take it out at people at work. You always talk shit about everything in life because you're projecting your pain. Now, of course, whether you have kids or not, I mean, staying with a significant other just because of kids, it's not benefiting the children because you're always pissed off because your mother's not happy and you're not happy. You know, your wife's not happy and you're not happy. The children aren't going to be happy. They're just going to be exposed to all that anger, and it's going to affect them negatively. I mean, I know this because, you know, my parents stayed together because of me and my little brother, and you know, the only time we ever had a healthy relationship in the family is when they all split up. Then life was great. I was like, holy shit, my dad's actually cool. Holy shit, my mom's actually, you know, she'd be an emotional wreck, but most of the time she is actually. She's got a lot of issues, but I love her so much, and she's actually not as bad as I thought. My little brother's actually super cool, but I could never realize how badass my family was until they finally did what needed to be done. They just broke up. You know, but everyone thinks, oh, I gotta stay with this, you know, this woman for the kids, you know, and everyone thinks like that they have a moral obligation to do so, and it doesn't even help. It doesn't help. It just harms people, and then it just ruins you and turns you into an aggressive driver. And by the way, like, once again, like, my dad's cool and everything, but he was an aggressive driver, and I lived with him for 14 years of my life, probably more than that. And so I lived with a person who had this problem. So I realized just how deep it goes. And I have friends that are that, or I had friends that were that way. Not anymore. I let them go. You know, I've been around these people, I've talked to these people, I've seen these people freaking out in their car, right? So I'm pretty sure I have a great idea of where this all comes from. But you know, if you're one of these aggressive drivers, you're gonna be freaking out like, oh, this guy's full of shit. Like you have like a fucking like parasite inside of you that is stolen your brain. Fucking pathetic. So anyway, leave your questions and comments down below. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I'll talk to you soon. Yeah.